So it's been about 2.5 months since I made my original Montblanc review video, and amazingly, even though that video was, 20 minutes long, I didn't actually squeeze in everything that I wanted to put into that video. There were a few things that I left out just to make the video 20 minutes long and bearable enough to watch. So in this video, I'm going to say, the few things that I left out, and as well as that, a few more things that I've noticed in the 2.5 months that I've been using it since I made that video. So let's jump in. So the first thing that I'll mention is something that I probably should have put in the original video, and that's, if you've ever watched a how to spot a fake Montblanc video, they'll always say one of the easiest way to tell if your Montblanc is fake is simply look under the clip of the fountain pen, and engraved in the middle of the clip should be the word PIX. And that's actually one of the first things I did when I got my fountain pen from my sister. And that's not to say that I thought my sister had gotten me a fake fountain pen. If she's watching this, please don't think that I thought you got me a fake fountain pen. But the reason I did that was just to see if they still did that. And to my surprise, on the new 2018 edition Montblancs, they obviously have stopped engraving PIX under the clip. What they do nowadays is engrave made in Germany and metal under the clip. Now that doesn't mean that they've actually entirely ditched the word PIX on the Montblanc, because what they've done is they've moved the word PIX onto the band, because on older Montblanc fountain pens, the words that would be engraved would be Montblanc Meisterstück number 146 or Montblanc Meisterstück number 149. However, on the newest Montblanc fountain pens, engraved is the words Montblanc Meisterstück and PIX, with PIX in a cursive script. It's also worth noting that over time, the engraving that has been used on the band of the Montblanc fountain pens has also changed. Pretty subtly over time, but it has changed. The earlier Montblanc fountain pens used a really thin and really blocky type of font. However, nowadays the font that they're using is a lot more bolder, and they've also used cross-hatching engraving, unlike the older fountain pens, which is a lot nicer in my opinion. And while I'm in the mood to criticise this fountain pen, I will also say that if you ever look down the cap of the fountain pen and shine a light, you will see a whole bunch of ribs and witness marks that are from the mould, and it will remind you that even though that from a distance this pen here is a thing of beauty, when you do look at this, it will remind you that this fountain pen at the end of the day is something that is no longer bespoke, and something that is just cranked out in moulds by the thousand. The final thing I'll criticise this fountain pen about is the fact that they're now using injection moulded feeds. And here's the thing, every other company now uses injection moulded feeds. Pilot do it, Wingsung do it, Lamy do it. Good brands, cheap brands, they all use injection moulded feeds. But here's the thing, this is Montblanc that we're talking about. Montblanc are supposed to have some of the best fountain pens in the world, and they've gone ahead and taken the ebonite feeds, something that takes a lot of hands-on craftsmanship to make, feeds that have a pretty good reputation for being pretty robust and pretty good because they absorb ink and deliver really good ink flow to the nibs. They've taken that and they've replaced it with an injection molded feed. And that's not bad, I will say, because injection molded feeds, when you get the mold right, pretty much every feed is going to be exactly the same, and if you get it right, they're all going to be perfect. And I will say, this feed that I've been using here has been perfect. The issue is, this fountain pen costs $1,000, and you would expect that somewhere in that $1,000 there would be a little bit of craftsmanship or skill involved in making the feed, because the feed, if you think about it, is like the heart of the fountain pen. It uses capillary action to feed ink to the nib. You would expect that there would be a little bit of craftsmanship involved in making the feed. And considering that the older fountain pens that were made by Montblanc uses the ebonite feed, you would expect that they might maintain a little bit of their tradition, but obviously not. For that $1,000, they're going to get an injection molded feed, saying that they've made 1,000 of. And that's just a little bit of a shame. The feed's good though, it's just a bit disappointing. And speaking of materials, the older Montblanc 146s were made from celluloid, whereas the newer Montblanc 146s use Montblanc's precious resin, whatever their precious resin actually is. And I have to say, it is a little bit of a disappointment that Montblanc has changed from celluloid to resin, because if you look at the older 146s, they have a really nice, deep, rich texture when you look at them under some lights. Whereas these ones here, while they do look really nice, they just don't have the same look that celluloid has, and that is a little bit of a shame. And considering that other fountain pens, such as some versions of the Pelikan M800 and M1000 range, have bodies that are made from celluloid, it is a little bit of a disappointment that Montblanc don't step up their game and use celluloid, because I've only seen one celluloid fountain pen in my life and I've only used it once. That fountain pen had a really nice and deep, rich texture to it and a really nice feel to it, and it's something that Montblanc just can't recreate with their Montblanc resin. And I do wish, for a pen that costs $1,000, I do wish Montblanc would just up their game, use celluloid, use something that takes a little bit more practice to use, something that's a little bit more of a hands-on material, something that you just can't simply injection mold by the thousand, something that is, like a Pelikan, something that, like they used to make. So it is a little bit of a disappointment for a $1,000 pen. And to anyone who says we don't use celluloid nowadays because it explodes, it thermally degrades, it doesn't last a long time, it chips, something like that, I will remind you, we don't live in the 1920s anymore. We've progressed a little bit in terms of, materials. So the celluloid that we use nowadays is not the same. The final thing I'll say is, and this is more my fault rather than Montblanc's fault, it's when you're using this and you are using the travel case, make sure you don't have inky fingers, because you're gonna bloody stain the box. And I honestly can't deal with that. Every time I look at it, I feel sad. And I want to buy another one, but they're really expensive. Send aid. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just a few more things that I wanted to say about my Montblanc 146. Don't get me wrong, I know I criticised this fountain pen a little bit in this video, but I have to say, at the end of the day, I'm really grateful that I got this fountain pen. I do use it all the time, and even though that this pen might not be as handcrafted as I would like for $1,000, at the end of the day, it is a damn good writer. Thank you for watching.